Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aegis Marauders League week number 4. My name is Moose. Happy to be here. Alongside me, it's going to be Septi. Septi, how are you? How's your week been?
Doing pretty fantastic, Moose. My week has been pretty good. My weekend was pretty good as well. I'm excited to see what these teams are cooking on the new patch. We talked about it sort of a bit last week, but a few changes. Nothing too earth-shattering. I think Tristana mostly and Corki got a bit of a punch in the mouth, so hopefully we will not be seeing them as much this week. But otherwise I'm doing great, Moose. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. No complaints here. Just having another hot day in Vegas. But
Oh yeah,
things
I
are
hope it's dry
definitely
at least.
yeah, a little. Well, we get some of those summer rains, and so it's a little humid, but that's irrelevant comparatively to any other place that gets hot. But what is also heating up is the Aegis Marauders League and their regular season. We are moving into week 4 with only 6 weeks of regular play. You've got a lot of opportunities for, or not as much opportunity left to try to go for those spots. Pardon me, only 2 more weeks left of regular season play. And so every season you're going to have players and teams that are not going to do well at the start. They're going to try to come back in later of the season, and they're going to have to do that for this league. They're going to have to do that now. Today's matchup is going to be between Yakooza and Neverlucky White. They are both 2-1 in the Ionia division, so comfortable within the league to make it to the qualifiers, but maybe looking for the opportunity to still get one of those automatic qualifiers into the playoffs.
Yeah, these are the 2 teams that are currently gunning for that second place spot in the Ionia standings. Just a reminder, AML Yeatlist, a team that was on stream a few weeks ago, is 3-0 in this division. Unfortunately for them, unfortunately for Yakooza, they have to play them in week number 5. But so that is going to be critical for this week, that they were able to knock down Neverlucky White. But as we get a look at the teams, we're going to see Yakooza now, after getting a nice look at Neverlucky White, with sporting a roster of Revnon, Jim Cantor, Puffles, Adofoof, and Pierceblade. And then taking a look at Yakooza, we got great content: Ogawa, John, Savior, and Yes Chef in the bot lane there. And yeah, I mean, these teams are looking pretty good, 2-1 apiece in the Ionia standings as we are getting into draft now. Again, new patch, but we are unfortunately on pro draft because DraftLol has been having a few issues the last couple of days. But look, we get to see a bit of a new format, a bit of a new scene here that Caddy has whipped up very nicely for us. And some interesting bans coming out. I don't think I would have guessed that we'd see an Ivern or Garen ban in the first phase. Some counter picks already going away by Yakooza, and we're gonna have to see where this draft goes.
Yeah, I mean, this draft is very different than some of the other games that we've streamed here in the AML. A lot of top side getting banned out, a lot of jungle getting banned away. And so Yakooza may be looking to go for some advantages there in the early to mid game, get those Void Grubs, have the opportunity to potentially get the Rift Herald, or at the very least, have that island go into their favor. However, because Ezreal was not banned, probably one of the strongest champions in the game right now, they will be the B1 pick for the blue side.
Yeah, especially because Ezreal did not get touched on this previous patch. It makes him the S tier mid laner, or sorry, mid jungle AD flex. In a meta where honestly Brand and Zyra are still very strong despite the small nerfs coming to them both. But another champion that has been seeing a rise in popularity has been this Senna. It has been paired pretty significantly with the likes of a Rumble, with the likes of Ornn in the bot side, as well as Nautilus, even if Yakooza would like to pair it there. But it has been a pick that has sort of been, teetering on the edge of being this, tier 180 carry. But now that Corki and Tristana have been nerfed, it does open the way a little bit for these, less spammy AD carries, less jump into your face AD carries. As I say that though, Tristana going to be picked up here by Yakooza, which is a little bit interesting when you see that the other side has locked Ezreal, because traditionally Ezreal is good in Tristana because you are going to be able to have that arcane shift for if Tristana tries to trade into you with the buster, with the bomb. I'm forgetting the name of it off the top of my head. So you'll be able to shift away. You won't be get stunned by her W. But anyway, we'll have to see how NLW decide to respond.
Now, the other option that this could be is this could also be a bottom side pick for Yakooza, Tristana Senna maybe coming through. I guess that is going to bring it back to you. Now that we know that we have the Ezreal there and the Nautilus, is there an opportunity that this is an Ezreal Nautilus bottom lane potentially going against a Senna Tristana, or is it still up in the air here?
It absolutely still is up in the air. The likes of Kai'Sa are still around. You have your Dravens as well. Kai'Sa probably would be a premier pick for blue side here. Lilia picked up is fairly nice for Neverlucky White. It is a really, really supreme AP jungler on this patch. Did get nerfed a little bit, I think, but not too affected by it. No, it will be the Ornn, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be a bot lane Ornn with the Senna. Very nice into Nautilus. You will have the Bella's Breath to be able to dodge a couple of the CCs, maybe a couple of roots. But it does play into the hands of Ezreal nicely, because if they do decide to send the Ezreal bot, it will be a pretty stonewall, boring lane, which leads me to think that NLW might, opt for a really aggressive mid laner here. And Ziggs being taken off the table is interesting to say the least. I wonder if Puffles plays a lot of Ziggs, or if Savior plays a lot of Ziggs. I haven't done too much of an OPGG dive. But second phase is going to be interesting. Shyvana ban, I really like to see. I've been a big fan of this champion for a bunch of patches now. And Yakooza definitely are looking for some AP damage.
Yeah, and the surprises in the ban phase is going to continue. What Yakooza is going for in the second round of draft is that the composition is still relatively adaptable. Tristana can still go bot and mid, or can still go, bot or top. So you're going to be leaving Neverluck guessing a little bit here as we move into this second phase. The one thing that I'm looking for, though, is maybe a little bit of early game or an opportunity to just exploit some advantages before Ezreal and Lilia get online, because what I'm looking at on the Yakooza comp is a lot of late game and a lot of power as we move into that team fight stage. And speaking of something that you were talking about, Septi, you want something aggressive, you want something that could get the job done. Sylas is going to be that R4 pick.
Yeah, and this Yakooza draft has given me a bit of a headache here. Because if you think about it, all these champions, for the most part, besides Senna rather, are flexible. Sylas Jungle has been picking up a bit in Steam and in high elo solo queue. Corki going to be the next lock-in rather for Neverlucky, which does confirm that Ezreal most likely is going to go bot lane. So two nerfed mid laners, it's fine. Corki loses a bit of HP. Tristana is forced to use a bit more mana. Should still have a pretty similar essence in that lane, but curious to see what Neverlucky decides to round out with topside. I imagine it'll be some kind of bruiser or a tank. I mean, it could be something like a Kennen too, but I don't think you want to give Sylas that. Yeah, Mordekaiser I think they're taking the gamble that Ornn is going to be top lane here. And if Yakooza's played this the way I think it might be, and it might just be Tristana mid, Sylas jungle, they could completely pull a fast one on Neverlucky White.
And we'll see what they decide to go for here. Like you said, all four champions could potentially be up in the air. Very flexible. If you're trying to do this, you've got to make a statement here with this R5. And what is that statement going to be? It's going to be the Gnar going up against the Mordekaiser. And so I think your read on the situation there was correct, Septi. We're going to be seeing Sylas in the jungle and Ornn in that support role.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't casted or seen a Sylas jungle recently. I know it's playable, and I use that word because I think that's all it is playable. You're not going to clear nearly as fast as Lilia. You have to pretty much play to either gank at level 3 or invade her as early as you can. And with a Tristana and a Gnar on your side, you should be able to do that. But with that in mind, Yakooza are going to have to try and play early to get some knowledge as to where Jim Cantor is going to start. On this Lilia, because if you're not able to track the Lilia, if you're not able to give Ogawa some advantage in terms of pathing knowledge, this Sylas is just going to get completely outpaced for the majority of the game. And then once team fights start happening, Lilia will be pretty much unkillable because you don't have any lockdown, you don't have any point and click CC on this Yakooza side. Whereas on the other side for Neverlucky White, I guess, sorry, there's an asterisk there. You have Sylas ulti when he takes the Nautilus, and that's it.
Yeah. And that's, I think, maybe the concern is that you can go for a true shot barrage. You can go for, I don't even know how Lilting Lullaby would work for Sylas.
You have to passive auto.
Okay, yeah. So
or
like,
just any auto will trigger the ability to press R.
So difficulty there in trying to get a really effective Lilting Lullaby. Depth charge, obviously very good. You don't necessarily have the most optimal ultimates, I would think, for Yakooza to play with, or for Ogawa in this case to play with. You could decide to just go into the Death Realm, add that opportunity to go for the 1v1 if you survive and you take out the opponent that you put in there. Now that 4v5 is a 5v4, you've got all of those great stats. If you are able to get to Jim Cantori in there and beat him, it's a lot of AP potentially for the Sylas as they move into the later parts of that team fight. But now I want to look at the composition just as a whole. Both of these compositions really scream late game to me. They're both really trying to scale up. And so you were talking about potentially the chance that Ogawa can go for some flanks, some ganks into the jungle, stop Jim Cantori from scaling. How possible is that, or how expected should we be seeing that?
I think the only lane that we'd ever see, or the only side of the jungle we'd ever see Ogawa be able to actually make it happen, would be in the top side. Just purely because Gnar is going to have a little bit of extra push onto the Mordekaiser early on. Just being, having the natural range advantage there will allow that pressure to come in. On the bot side, the other option I said was, Sylas can go for a level 3 gank, which is pretty common among Sylases because you're not really able to do a full clear very healthily. Unless you get, the hardest of leashes at level 1, which, when your teammates are, Senna and or Gnar leashing you, it is not the fastest and or the, most damage going to be coming out. But I do want to call on some stats a little bit here before we get into this game, because we're talking about Ogawa, we're talking about the hard road ahead of him. Ogawa is, I think, in the top 10 currently in stats in the AML in kills a game, averaging 7+ kills in every outing. So if anyone knows how to find a play, if anyone knows how to find a kill for themselves, it would be Ogawa on this team. And I think that, they play with John a lot. Yes, Chef on this Ornn is going to be able to roam a lot with around 13 assists a game. So I expect them to be playing together quite a bit. Maybe not so much this game, considering Yes, Chef is on Ornn and will want to be farming a lot. But again, yeah, Ogawa, I trust Ogawa. I think has, what it takes to go for these plays. Neverlucky, again, you just have to stay the course. You have to make sure you don't give up too much early. And if you're able to find, I'd argue, a single kill onto Ogawa, a single, play that goes slightly wrong for their team, it is going to be very hard for Yakooza to claw it back.
And so we'll see if they are able to do that. We are setting up, I think, for a very exciting matchup in the Ionia division. Definitely some stakes here for both teams. You mentioned it before that AML Yeet List is Yakooza's week 5 matchup, and so a win here would be paramount so that they're able to potentially secure that playoff spot or still have a chance of getting it if they lose to Yeet List next week. So a lot riding on this matchup here for the division, but let's go into the Dragon draft. I chose the Dragon correctly last week for game 2, which means you go first.
All right, give me the Hex deck.
All righty. I'm gonna take Infernal, and I'm gonna take Cloud.
All right. I'm gonna go with Chem Tank and
there you
Ocean.
Go. Love it.
Or Chem Tech. Sorry.
Chem Tank is fine. Sorry,
Rick. Chem Tank, an item I liked playing with Udyr. Chem Tech, a dragon that no one likes. So.
Okay, fair enough, folks. But with that being said, draft 1 is done, and Septi, we got a little shout out that we can move forward to. Is that right?
I mean a shout out, more like, my hopes and dreams crushed, but done very well by a good friend of ours, Slayer. We're gonna step away for a minute and let our lovely friend Slayer give you a little bit of a rundown on our sponsors here at the AML.
Quick shout out to ProComps, our sponsor and a game changer app for the League community. This isn't just like the other tools. It's your personal draft coach, perfect for both teams and solo players. In fact, you can pair it with any other app you use. ProComp stands out with features like custom champion pools, personalized tier lists, and live draft advice. Think of it as having a virtual coach and a strategy toolkit all in one. They offer real-time champion ban recommendations. They already have over 200,000 downloads and thousands of daily users just like you. ProComps is user-friendly and totally free. It is a no-brainer to at least give it a go. Download ProComps now and you'll experience a whole new level of drafting power in your league games. Go to procomps.gg, download it from Overwolf, or click the panel below on our stream.
Not too long ago, this village was a golden scene of hope. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer.
Welcome back, everybody, to the start of week 4 here at the Aegis Marauders League. Neverlucky White versus Yakooza.
Welcome to America.
No, not gonna be this time. I was about to say, I really like both these logos. I'm just trying to ignore you here for a second, Septi. You caught me off guard there.
Sorry, Pierce Blade caught us both off guard, and then still went for the hook. Doesn't matter. They're gonna walk in and be able to get a ward. This is kind of the opposite aggression that I thought was gonna happen, because I talked about it a bit in draft where I thought that they'd want to get a ward on where Jim Cantor is going to start, and I don't know, it just does not seem to be the case. But the bot lanes have different ideas here, as a very late ward going to go down in favor of Pierce. And it seems like a bit of a blunder from Yakooza to allow them free, passage into the jungle like this. But Xavier and Yes Chef going to try and get a chunk onto the bot lane here potentially if they stay too long. No, they're not going to.
Yeah, don't have any vision on the bottom side of the Rift. Did not see anybody when they were passing that ward. And so they're going to get back to lane and kind of bamboozle Xavier. Let Yes Chef avoid any damage to the start of the game. Want to talk about the summoner spells really quick. We've got a total of 6 teleports here on this contest. I think not unexpected, but it's definitely going to be a very mobile map. And it's going to mean that there's going to be a lot of action there in the side lanes.
Well, we have 5.5. Yes, Chef has spell book.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
But you're absolutely right. 6 TPs means that the map is going to be absolutely crazy when it comes to pushing lanes and catching waves. It is. I kind of like that Revnon took Ghost this game. It's, generally it's nice to be able to snap and flash away from some sort of CC that's going to come in, but when you're against something like a Nard that gets those hyper procs and is able to run away so easily, within a moment's notice, it's nice to be able to stick with them, especially once you're able to pick up those Rylai's. The sticking power will just be absolutely immense. And Ogawa, look at the HP. We can kind of see a little. We don't have to look in person, but the HP is looking a little bit low there. Was below half when taking Raptors, and is gonna try and go for at least a 4-camp clear before going out onto the map. Whereas look at Jim Cantor already done with 4 camps, while Ogawa is trying desperately to kill their blue buff and stay healthy while doing so. The rest of the map just gonna be pretty boring. And honestly, I'm surprised Great Content has allowed Revnon to shove them in like this. Perhaps got caught with an E, took a bad trade. Not exactly sure what happened, but definitely not the optimal play here. And Ogawa is going to find not much in the bot side jungle of Neverlucky.
Yep, just looking to see if they could find any wards. And you talked about it in draft. Ogawa very slow on that first clear, whereas Jim Cantori has cleaned up their jungle. You've still got Gromp, you've still got Wolves, And with the waves bouncing back towards Neverlucky White, not really an opportunity to go for a gank either. So they're going to go back and clean up their camps. I suspect that then they'll go back and go for a buy, but it's going to be Jim Kentori back on the map first.
Yeah, Jim Kentori going to have that burn component that we so often see on these AP mages. I'm curious to see what build Ogawa goes this game, because I mean, like I said, I don't know too much of the Sylas build these days. I imagine it's going to be something similar to what we might see in the mid lane with potentially a Lich Bane, a Proto Belt, but this is a potential fight here. Maybe just trying to get John out of the lane. I think Ogawa needs to commit to pushing this wave, otherwise John might be in a little bit of trouble staying at that HP. But
I got a little bit of a fight here. Savior going to be at half HP themselves, but yes, Chef going to be able to keep them just fine. Going to be able to get back under tower. Maybe looking to go for a reset here, but Pierce Blade is kind of threatening them going forward a little bit as the next wave of minions comes through. A Dufoof going to get a sneaky back here. Will be able to pick up that Tear of the Goddess, picks up a Cole as well. Meanwhile, the mid lane Puffles will drop that teleport, getting the very early Ninja Tabby boots. I still call him Ninja Tabby. I don't care. And just looking to stop that defense.
Plated steel caps.
Oh my god.
But the actually is going to be that Ogawa is so far behind this game. Yes, they are on the map and have, are only 2 camps down on this Lilia, but the item difference is so immense already that even if Ogawa tries to contest these Raptors, I don't know if they will really be able to. They're down a level, they are down items, and Jim Kentor going to be able to get that Smite Seal. Really well played by the Neverlucky jungler to be able to, create an even bigger gap into their matchup. I'm so surprised that Ogawa stayed so long on the map without basing. This Sylas is so painful when it comes to clearing without any items that you would have really expected them to try and base for some AP. We'll pick up the Aether Wisp now, but Jim Kentor is having an uncontested time taking these grubs.
Good warding as well coming in from Neverlucky on the top side. You see that both ways, all 3 ways into those void grubs are seen. No way for any sort of shenanigans to come through, even getting Pierce Blade to back and go up top side to make sure that they're protected. While that was happening, the CS is going to maintain even down their bottom side. Adu is going to be just a little bit ahead of yes, Chef in terms of CS, and will also have that extra gold when they complete that cull. Second back for Jim Kentori, I believe, maybe not, but regardless, going to be going back up to the top side of the Rift, looking to invade into that red buff, going to be able to get it, I'm sure, as Yakooza will opt to go for the Infernal Drake and get a little extra power here in the early game.
Yeah, and I'm sure Jim Kentor is totally fine with this, just trying to get some value out of that dragon play there. Honestly, if you think about it, it's a trade of grubs for this dragon. You let Ogawa get control of the bot side. You took 3 grubs, denying them from some pretty powerful split pushers in the likes of Gnar and Tristana, who, had they been able to get some of those grubs, might be a real problem later on into this game. A part of the game that this Yakooza side is hoping to scale into, so not having those grubs later on is going to be pretty painful for this team. But Jim Kentor just going to get on the map, going to be a fair bit up on CS. Look at the camps available to the Lilia versus the Sylas. This Ogawa is not having a fun time on this Sylas, but really just needs to start picking up the pace, needs to start going for some plays. Sylas is not a power farming jungler, despite the fact that all these other AP junglers, your Brands, your Lilias, your Zyras, they are so good at clearing the jungle. Sylas is anything but that. Even champions like Elise, who are, more prototypical AP junglers, that champion doesn't even like clearing for the most part. She likes taking enough camps to get her abilities and then ganking and then getting gold that way, and then she's able to clear her camps with the gold that she gets from those ganks. But here we go, great content. Gonna get jumped on by Revnon here. Does have the ghost and the death realm available should they decide to use it, and look at the Q damage as well. Revnon really making their power felt on that top side with a CS advantage too, and a frozen wave in their favor.
And this is just what's so painful right now for Yakooza. You opt in to go for a mid to late game strategy. I don't see the bridge right now in the early game, and that's going to give the side of Neverlucky to also be able to amp up. Only in the lead by 400 gold, as great content might be first blood here, trying to be able to get the Mega Gnar in the death realm, going to be able to get the stun, and will use Gnar to be able to get out of danger. Very nicely done. As Adu's going to get hit by the knockup, going to get the root as the Dawning Shadows available for Savior. Going to be the depth charge coming through from Ogawa, and they're going to get first blood out of Adu. Dawning Shadows also used to give some shielding over to the Silence to be able to stay alive, as Flash is going to have to be used by Chef to be able to get back from under tower. Great turret juggling, and first blood is going to go cleanly to Yakooza.
Yeah, as your ulti is going to miss the Ornn just barely. Credit to great content to be able to outplay the Ornn there without using Flash. That is going to be critical later on. When you potentially go for a play with Ogawa, who finally has had some impact on the map, did a really nice job there, stole the Nautilus ulti, and was really able to set that up onto Adoof, who was not prepared to be the target of that Ornn ulti, did not have trigger finger on that Flash. So by the time that they actually did react, it was far too late, and they had the tether from the Nautilus ulti on them already. Clean from Yakooza. They're able to put the kill as well onto Savior, which is exactly where you want it in this moment. I think anyone but Yes Chef would have been perfect. As look at the trading already. Savior is able to keep up with the Neverlucky AD carry. As John is now here.
Coming through, Flash having to Flash not available. Arcane Shift is not enough, and like you were talking about, Septi, John is going to take a kill. Now 2 on the board for Yakooza, and they're going to even out the gold as well.
Yeah, it seems like Neverlucky sort of fell asleep a little bit. Nothing really happened in the first 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden Yakooza suddenly jumped into gear and have caught them, not prepared. Yes, you've had a whole bunch of wards and controlled topside. Jimkantor has done a good job of trying to grow the CS lead versus their counterpart, but has not been able to find much lasting impact. Pierce Blade now here, hook not going to land. This is going to be a little bit of a problem for Neverlucky if they are not able to start creating some pressure with their harder bits of CC. We saw Revnon almost get a solo kill on that top side, but almost is not getting a solo kill on top side.
And the grubs will be taken by Neverlucky White. 3 members of Yakooza on the bottom side of the rift. They have ceded the Hunger of the Void buff to their opponents. I think Puffles and Adoof happy and fine with getting that. They'll be able to get that extra bit of siege damage as we move in to the later stages of the game. And I don't know, Septi, I feel like that might have been a bit of a macro error coming in from Yakooza, because you get none of that extra siege damage on any of your members, and you still give that great power in the mid game towards Neverlucky White. If they're able to get those towers and get several towers down, it's going to be a lot of gold in their pockets as we go into those team fights.
No, it is absolutely far too powerful. Oh.
All right, we got a play here. Thilting Lullaby is going to land in onto John. Flash already used. Dawning Shadow's going to try to keep John alive as well. Nicely done by Savior to be able to keep Tristana alive. But the same could not be said for Ogawa, and the root in the dredge line will land, and Pierce Blade will facilitate a nice double kill for Jimkantor.
I was going to say it's fine to give 6 grubs so long as you can keep a gold and pressure lead, so you can keep them off your tower, but having a play go like that, Jimkantor picking up 2 kills is certainly not what you want to be seeing from Yakooza. Jimkantor, before that fight, also had their Blackfire Torch finish, which is going to make it so much nicer for them as this game goes on. Going to start stacking dragons now at 12.5 minutes. So very nicely done from Neverlucky. Their game is going very nicely for them, farming pretty well across the board. Puffles keeping up 10 CS per minute. And I think you would have liked to see a bit more of a CS lead on this bot side. Yes, Chef has done a nice job staying even on farm compared to a Doof. But this game, I think, is progressing nicely for both teams here. I think Yakooza are happy that it's not a bigger lead for Neverlucky. And Neverlucky is happy that they're now going to start being able to stack these objectives on the bot side. Your Ezreal now, has a Sheen and is able to start pushing the waves in a bit more. and landing some slightly more meaningful damage against Yes Chef. And I don't know how I feel about this item on the Ornn. It's great for wave clear, but when your first item is to build MR versus an Ezreal lane, it's gonna be pretty painful for you.
Revnon looking to secure that back and is going to be able to. Rift Herald is now up, and the lanes are redistributing themselves here at this point. And still have a doof going down to the bottom side, has a teleport up very, very soon, as the rest of Neverlucky White are looking to go towards a Rift Herald play, and it looks like they're going to be on the scene first. Revnon going to try to come through and get a little bit of that warding out on the pit. They will be able to do so, and it looks like the rest of the team is happy with ceding another neutral objective over to Neverlucky White.
Yeah, I think Yes Chef has teleport available underneath this ignite, but has been unable to actually free up the summoner spell slot, so not able to join that fight nearly fast enough. Not to mention the fact that Ogawa does not have their first item completed, despite everyone in the game, including one of the supports, has a item completed. Gnar does not, but the Gnar has yet to base and had to spend money on a full pair of mercs because Revnon has just been doing so much damage to them in lane that had they not done it, it would have been much more painful to exist versus this Mordekaiser. Great content is gonna actually go on Revnon here. I don't know if I like this, considering the Death Realm is still available. Just gonna use Mega to have a bit of a trade.
Looking to maybe go for a back their own. The wave is going to reset, but it's still going to stay in lane for the time being, going to avoid the pool. Just trying to go for that first item, as first item is now completed for Ogawa. It is going to be that Lich Bane, as there is going to be an initiation coming in from Pierce Blade. Going to also get hit by the Ruse. Now Ogawa is in trouble. Going to be the Ornn Horn, and Ogawa's 1 HP, and Aduva is going to flash forward to be able to take that one in. Another great dredge line from Pierce Blade to give Jhin Kantor a killing spree. A good route from Savior is going to be able to keep him alive under tower, but that tier 1 tower is not going to survive long, especially with those Void Grubs coming in. That is going to be first tower for Neverlucky White.
Yeah, and on the bot side, John not even able to push that lane out far enough to start hitting the tower. I think critically, bot tower first gold went to Savior and Yes Chef, so they are doing a little bit better there, but the first tower breaking in mid just opens the map so nicely for Neverlucky, who's real limiting factor has been the fact that they weren't rather able to open up the map with a fight of their own. It had to come from Savior and Ogawa overstepping for them to actually make a play. And now hopefully with this mid lane tower down, they'll be able to open up, and they'll be able to start getting vision down and force a more favorable fight. Ogawa, oh no,
Man, rough.
Fizzled the ulti when Jhin Kantor walked into the bush, and then it timed out, and then Jhin Kantor flashed. A comedy of errors, as it were. But third dragon gonna be spawning in 54 seconds time. It will be the Cloud Drake. It will be the move fast Drake, which Lilia will absolutely love to use in this game. Not to speak of the active of the ultimate, or of the Dragon Soul rather, but that's not going to be for another 15 minutes at the very minimum, so we'll have to see if both these teams can even get there, because Revnon is doing a bit of baiting up here.
And Jhin Kantor going to drop the Rift Herald as well. Dragon going to be up in 20 seconds as Ogawa's going to go in, going to be able to land a nice bit of damage onto Jhin Kantor, but a teleport's going to come through from Puffles, and Ogawa's going to go down into the Death Realm, and the Lilting Lullaby's going to land onto great content. A flawless execution there from Neverlucky White, who are going to pick up 2 more kills. Bait successful, and Yakooza once again are going to be in a rough situation. Pierce Blade going to find another great dredge line. That one onto Saviors. Now Yes Chef going to be in trouble, going to get the shield from the Dawning Shadows, but I don't know if they're going to have enough movement to get out of this one. Pierce Blade not going to hit that dredge line, and the blast code will be just enough for Yes Chef to escape. Finally going to be able to get that teleport back, but unfortunately for Yakooza, the damage is going to continue, and Yes Chef is not going to be able to back.
Yeah, Yes Chef is going to be forced to stay here. This tower is not safe. Yes Chef is going to be forced to give this one, and Ogawa actually going to find Jhin Kantor down 3 levels though.
Oh, 1 HP remaining. Gets the shutdown onto Jim Cantor. That's a bunch of gold into the Silas's pocket as the Warlord is going to drop. Losing Lullaby is going to land in on Tapir's plate, and all the damage is going to come through. But Ogawa is now 1 HP thanks to Puffles landing a big one rocket there. And now at 1 HP, going to try to be able to survive. Yes, Chef barely avoiding the Juice Shot barrage. It will go into the Dragon Pit and will look to be able to take that neutral objective.
Yeah, Yakooza rather used the opportunity that Neverlucky gave to them by overextending on the map and overstaying their welcome, and were able to find, you know, a couple nice kills. Ogawa now is the kill leader on their team on the Silas, and if you are Neverlucky, this is not what you want. You do not want the Silas to start suddenly getting back into this game. A champion who you worked so hard and you know out macroed for so long, to then just allow them back into the game for free. Ogawa's only down a level and they're down 50 CS to their counterpart. Granted, I think that's just jungle being stupid, but you know, Ogawa is close in levels nonetheless, and is gonna have a whole bunch of gold in pocket if we could just do a bit of a check-in there. Because I think the gold inventories is going to be pretty interesting to see what the distribution is like. It is currently a 4,000 gold lead, or sorry, 5,000 rather, for the side of Neverlucky. But Caddy, if we could take a look at the gold graphs, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'll get that gold here in just a moment, but we are going to be seeing some pushing coming in from Neverlucky White. That is a lot of damage onto that inner tower there in the bottom lane. Content is also going to try to get a little bit of damage into that tower on top side themselves. Only one tower taken by Yakooza comparatively to the 4 that Neverlucky White have been able to get. That is definitely attributing to that gold lead. As you were talking about earlier, what's also attributing to that is the CS leads that they have in mid, jungle, and comparatively Ezreal to Yes Chef on the Ornn. But for now, it is still relatively close, and I would like to think that a Baron fight at 20 minutes is not going to be possible, but both teams going to try to drop wards there to make sure that no one tries to sneak it.
Yeah, the Baron is pretty slow for... Actually, that's not true. It's pretty fast for both teams. Between the Gnar damage and the Tristana and the Lilia with the double burn items. So no one is really safe. No one can really let Baron be uncovered for an extended amount of time. And I think this is incredibly funny. If you look at the scoreboard real quick, Puffles has a 150 gold shutdown by not having any kills, purely because they have been partaking in so many of the plays around the map and have been farming so well in this game. That, I mean, Puffles now could be a target, and 450 gold is nothing to scoff at when you're down 5k gold. It is quite a good amount of pocket change to have. Great content going to be going for that Nashor's Tooth next, as well as Ogawa, who looks to be going for a Shadow Flame, which is not really what I would have expected to see. But again, I don't know too much about what's going on with Silas Jungle, and they have done a good job getting themselves back into this game, so they have earned the benefit of the doubt. And the waves just gonna be kept, just gonna keep on being pushed into Yakooza here. Such is the right granted to Neverlucky for having this gold lead at their disposal. And I mean, again, Moose, something to note: Yakooza were able to take this this third dragon, and so that sets behind Neverlucky so far in this game. When it comes to a sole win condition, that Yakooza are smiling, Yakooza are happy. They're going to be working towards, you know, their third, fourth item by the time it goes. Not also going to go down on Taydoof.
Oh, and Ogawa's going to be doing a lot of damage onto Adoof, as well as the Ornn is going to proc. Oh, Adoof is going to outplay it there, as the Lothar Lullaby is going to drop in on to Savior Anya Chef, who are not going to be able to survive. A risky play from Yakooza is going to turn into 3 kills for Neverlucky White, going into everyone's pockets, and now Baron is definitely ripe for the taking.
Yeah, really well played from Neverlucky there. They were able to outplay the engage that came from Ogawa. A massive overextension from a not very tanky Silas. Adoof did a nice job, was able to, you know, get away from the AoE damage there. They're going to be able to pick up Baron now, and this will really start to extend and close out the game for them, hopefully, is what Neverlucky is thinking. They're going to try and take control now of this bot and mid side here to try and set up this. Honestly, I don't know if they even care about Dragon at this point. I think they would rather use the full extent of their Baron. If they go for Dragon after the extent of their play, I think that's probably the best for them. But you know, you don't want this game to be going 15 more minutes if you are this blue side. You want this game to be over and done with. And the best way to do that is to use the Baron. And it looks like they're going to wait for Revnon on this bot side to push the wave in before committing to an extended play up front.
Yep. 2 inner towers also, or turret towers also available for Neverlucky White to pick up in the side lanes. Teleports available for great content. Revnon almost has it, as well as Puffles, so could be looking to go for a for some side lane plays themselves, or try to go for that dragon. But it looks like the play is going to be starting to go for that inner tower bot side. Hunger the Void Buff going to also be dealing a massive amount of damage here to that tower. And a 1-4 split with Puffles in the mid lane is going to definitely threaten the base of Yakooza, as great content is going to continue to stay in the top side of the Rift, looking to potentially go for that inner tower. But look at how fast that inhibitor tower goes down, just obliterated by the 4 members of Neverlucky White, who will also easily take the inhibitor. Nobody falls, but the state of the game has gone so incredibly far into Neverlucky's White favor, who continue to get structure after structure. They don't care about Dragon. They care about getting those inhibitors. They have now set themselves up nicely to go for an endgame play.
Yeah, and now if they retreated to do Dragon, I wouldn't hold it against them. It is, you know, the right way to finish off this play. Your waves are going to be pushed in, and you'll be able to collect it. I'm curious to see if they try and bait it. I don't imagine Yakooza will walk in. But no, I mean, I think that went picture perfect. I think great content. I'm not sure the value there of going for the top tower. I think, you know, it's a bounty. You have to try and get some gold back in your pocket, but I can't imagine a world where Yakooza is able to get a favorable fight now, unless it is, you know, a picture perfect. You find an Ornn ult on them in a choke, and then you get, you know, so much situational wombo combo over the top that I don't think Neverlucky will ever fall into a situation like that. I imagine, yeah, Puffles is gonna base here, gonna finish what looks to probably be an avoid quick plays, and will just look to TP towards this top side. I would love if Neverlucky were able to escort this next wave here, but no, they're gonna try and just collect as much gold as they can, which sure is great in terms of consistency. It is a little bit reserved. Yes, you have 2 inhibs down, but you would like to, you know, try and use that pressure as soon as possible, because the sooner you can drag the likes of Yakooza up towards the top side, the sooner you have super waves stacking in their base, that they have to send at least John and probably Yes Chef as well, because they are the ones that are going to have the ability to clear these waves. And look at the damage on that tower. Look at the amount that the Void Grubs are doing for this Neverlucky side.
Ogawa does have the depth charge, could potentially look to go for a big play here onto the backline, onto Puffles, onto a Doof. And Fearfade is going to be able to find Ogawa even before they're able to get any sort of damage in, but they are able to drop that depth charge, who is now going to give Yakooza the opportunity to potentially go for a big play here. 2 members of Neverlucky White are now dead, as great content is going to be in the death realm by themselves against Revnon. Going to be able to avoid the obliterate, going to be able to get the stun in onto Revnon. Great content, 1 HP, and is able to get back out. Revnon is also 1 HP, as both Revnon and John will go down. That is their first deaths respectively, as Puffles will go in with the Valkyrie to take out Savior. Jim Cantori going to try to go in to potentially get Yes Chef, unable to do so far, but where are now minions at the nexus of Yakooza? They need to clean that one up, but overall, a 3 for 2 in favor of Neverlucky White, who looks to continue to get more structure damage onto Yakooza's base.
I thought that I had just cast a curse the living day out of Neverlucky. I thought that the play was going to happen. The engage onto Silas was so fast from the side of Neverlucky, but Ogawa was able to turn it with a nice usage of that Nautilus ult. He was able to find a whole bunch of chunk damage onto the Ezreal, that once the Ornn and the Senna ulti came over the top, there was not really much. Jim Cantor, though,
gonna find another play on to...
Good flash, good flash. I don't think you can do those wolves.
I don't think so either. You don't have smite, but that does mean Jim Cantor is dead for the next 40 seconds. You could try to set up for Baron. You can clean up your base a little bit and maybe still have a chance to go into this fight. It is a 7,000 gold lead for Neverlucky White, but 20 minutes into the game, I don't know that that has the same value as it had 5-6 minutes ago. The value is those 2 inhibitors still being down, I believe, for about another minute.
I think if I've done my math right, there's one more wave before these inhibitors respawn. So I think Yakooza would be more than happy to farm this out while they wait for Jimkentor to respawn. And
Great
once that
content.
happens, oh, hold on, Adoof gonna be forced to flash. That is pretty massive in the grand scheme of things. This Ezreal now only down to 1 movement spell. Honestly, Yes Chef, who finally now has their teleport available, I think after about 10 minutes of not having it, is gonna be able to find a prime target for these Ornhorns. And I think we saw something at the end of that last fight, and that is the pure damage coming out from Jimkentor. Puffles, how are you ever walking here?
Oh, Puffles gonna try to go in here. The Dawning Shadow's gonna drop, and Puffles 1 HP. Going to be able to get the blast, going to be able to get out, and Ogawa's gonna go down. It is a 5v4, and no chance for Yakooza to smite Steel Baron Nashor. That play was illegal on both sides, but it's Neverlucky White that comes out on top.
Yeah, Puffles walking in a position with no vision around them. And then a whiffed engage coming out from the Yakooza side. It was the blind lead of the blind there for a bit, and Puffles should thank their lucky stars that they were not punished for it. Ogawa and Savior fumbling the engage onto the Neverlucky mid laner. And now with Baron being worn by this blue side here, they're gonna look to at least try and get onto Soul Point, if not end the game with this Baron. I think not having to push down 4 towers on the map is definitely going to be a benefit for you compared to the last Baron. But TPing onto the map is going to be Adoof, as they really want to start putting the pressure on early. Dragon spawns in 5 seconds time, but I think Neverlucky are going to try and do what they did with this first Baron and try and get these inhibitors down again.
Yeah, gonna try to go for the close here. Great content does have teleport to defend the inhibitors, or at the very least the 1 Nexus tower that is remaining, where, well, that last fight did favor Yakooza just a little bit by being able to get gold into their pockets and stop the bleeding a little bit. The minions were able to take out that 1 Nexus tower, so they've only got 1 remaining before the Nexus is indeed exposed. And once it's exposed, I don't know if Yakooza can defend the Nexus long enough for them to be able to keep that alive.
No, but Neverlucky are going to try. A nice root coming out from Savior to slow the advance of Neverlucky for just a little bit of time. But Revnon is going to try and eventually shove this wave on the bot side and play for this inhib yet again. If I think any one of these Squirrel Seeds hits, it is going to be an instant ult from Jimkentor, and the collapse will come in. Hold on, here we go. The play is going to happen now because great content has gone mega.
Yeah, gonna try to go in, gonna grab Jimkentor first plate in through. No Zonia Hourglass on. Jimkentor's gonna go down. It's 2 members of Neverlucky White down, as Puffles is gonna get hit by the depth charge, gonna be knocked up, and now Puffles is exhausted. Yes, Chef finally gets value out of that spell book, and 4 members of Neverlucky White are dead. A Taboof is the last member up. It's a double kill for Yes Chef, who gets a play on the Ornn and gives the ace to Yakooza.
This is exactly what Yakooza were looking for. They were looking for the overextension. Jimkentor got so greedy with his build, did not invest into the Zhonya's Hourglass, and so once they were caught, it was absolutely curtains. Not going to be able to use the Lilith Lullaby for any usage and utility in that fight there. It is a picture perfect. It is the fight that Yakooza were looking for, and it is going to pay off in a gold lead, closing down to about 6k still, but it is definitely a lot of gold, and they were able to defend that last Nexus tower, as well as pick up the Soul Point Dragon, which is going to buy them another set of 5 minutes. It is going to be 10 minutes before Neverlucky are going to be able to build this soul, and it shuts down another Baron that Neverlucky have been trying so hard to use. And we talk about this all the time, Moose. We talk about how many throws are you allowed to have in a game, but when you're in a game against the Senna, against an Ornn, where the scaling is key to their success, the number of throws you have at 30 plus minutes into the game is not very many. And this Senna now going to be hopefully finishing their 3rd item shortly, is looking in a really, really nice spot. Granted, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Neverlucky still up 5k gold in this match, and I think they've realized that they just need to group as 5. They need to play with their waves. Again, no Baron, but they have supers coming in the mid and bot wave, and the last time they did this sequence, they were able to knock down a Nexus tower, as well as get a couple kills. But I think that play was a bit of a fumble from I can't remember what happened in the last one, but I think it was a bit of a fumble from Adoof getting caught. But they have so much gold, they have so many items, and Neverlucky are going to try and right the wrongs of that last fight.
Last inhibitor tower will fall. The inhibitor is also now vulnerable. Yakooza could potentially be facing up against a super wave for the next 3.5 minutes if they let this inhibitor go down. They are trying to defend this one so that they can have a potentially better chance of going for this next Baron fight in a minute 56. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it though. As yes, you said, Mega Bar is going to come through. Great content, close to getting Meganar there, but no teleports available to potentially get into the back line of Neverlucky Light. And now Yakooza potentially in trouble. Ogawa's gonna have to go back to base, less than 30% HP, but will be able to get out get out fine. Not yet dead, but all inhibitors are now gone. One Nexus tower separates Neverlucky White from winning this game and taking themselves to an advantage here in this series. Great contact on the flash forward, doesn't get the best Gnar ultimate, as the Living Levite's not gonna be available this time. A lot of damage though. Oh my god, the damage is massive from Yakooza, but they're unable to get any kills yet, and Ogawa can't take anyone out. Oh my god, Revnon was the one that had the hourglass available this time to stay alive, and what looked to potentially be a good play for Yakooza will result in Neverlucky White taking game 1. What a start to this series. Well done from both teams, but it's Neverlucky White that just come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, we say just come out on top. I think you're absolutely right. I think Yakooza did such a nice job there in the end, trying to hold off. They did it for as long as they could. And I think the fight that they ended up having looks a little goofy because, you know, Great Content is forced to flash forward and try and ult Puffles back into their team. But I mean, look at the gold there. It was up to about 8,000 gold lead at one point. They were able to claw it back after that fight around the inhib, and it was looking really good to at least, you know, stall out some time. But you're only able to do so much. Jim Cantor did not make the mistake twice. Jim Cantor played it nice and safe. He played it to get those swirl seeds onto the key targets of Yakooza there. Was able to find a Lilting Lullaby onto 2. And once that happens, sure, maybe you didn't necessarily get the kills right away, but you were able to knock down that inhib. And that inhib forced the desperation out of the Yakooza members, which led to a favorable fight in your favor. And I think a critical part of that last engagement was that Jim Cantor was completely untouched by the side of Yakooza and was able to find so much damage from those burns, from those booming blows onto multiple members of Yakooza, that despite the fact that it looked good and it looked like they were getting some chunks onto the likes of Corki and Nautilus, I believe it was, the fight was really never in question for the side of Neverlucky. They just did such a nice job of, you know, keeping calm. Yes, you had a bit of a slip up, but they refocused, they got the game plan back, and they ended pretty cleanly to round out game 1. And again, another really important series for both of these teams, sitting at 2-1. And I'm excited to see what the rest of the series has in store if game 1 has any indication.
Yeah, you built a lot of AD on Yakooza's side at the start of that draft. You almost made it clear that the last member of the squad was going to be AP, and Ogawa going to be going in for that Silas. Did have some good shutdowns there onto Jim Cantor near the mid to the late game to kind of stop the snowball from happening. Unfortunately, though, I think the early game really put Yakooza into a bad spot. They just weren't able to keep that footing, that even footing, when we moved into the 15 to 20 minute part of this game. And the Void Grips did massive damage. Hunger to the Void did massive damage on getting those towers down. That Baron buff, you know, being able to expose 2 inhibitors. You don't get any deaths, but that doesn't matter. You get those 2 inhibitors there, and then it's just lights out. So I think for Yakooza, I think I was very entertained by that game. They were definitely very reserved. I just would have wished for something a little bit more early game in the jungle to give you that bridge to move into the late game.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Or something maybe a little bit more team oriented, because Silas is a very, you know, I'm going to play for me champion. It is certainly the type of champion you'd expect on a 7+ kills a game player. I personally, I would have liked to have seen, you know, a Zyra or a Morgana, something that could just provide a little bit more CC, a little bit more, you know, utility to the team. I think Silas is a great pick in certain situations. I don't think it's great when you don't have much lockdown elsewhere. Especially when you're playing with the likes of a Senna Ornn, a lane that is going to be super solid. Credit to Yes Chef, who was keeping on pace in terms of farm with a Doof for that entire game, was able to stay on the item curve, despite the world sort of falling around them a little bit. But I mean, I said it at the end of the game. I'm excited for what this game tells us about the rest of the series, and I just can't wait to see what happens next.
Well, if you guys want to find out what happens next, please go ahead and stay on the stream. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes for the next draft as we move into game 2. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Aegis Marauders League Week 4, and Neverlucky White going to be able to take out Yakooza in Game 1, albeit maybe not as simple as they wanted it to. Yakooza really giving them a run for their money as they moved into the mid game, into the late game. But overall, very exciting game coming in from these two teams, Septi, as we move into Game 2.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think both teams. I don't want to keep harping on the Silas because I think it's a player preference choice in the end. But I think both teams had a pretty consistent draft. I liked what both teams brought to the table. I think Neverlucky White had a bit more of a consistent bit of setup. Again, having the Ezreal to play from range, having the Nautilus ulti, as well as the Mordekaiser to really rein in the members of Yakooza that were getting, slightly uppity, as it were. We have swap sides for this game, as you can see on the top. Lilia gonna get taken off the table. Jim Cantor no longer going to be able to run wild on the deer, and the bans are coming hot and fast from Yakooza. 3 jungle bans really targeting Jim Cantor, who I have to say, I'm going to pull another stat from the sheet. Jim Cantor currently in the AML is the 2nd highest in the league by our rating system, which I don't have the calculation for off the top of my head, but I know it's a combination of stats. So currently sitting number 2 on that list is the Neverlucky white jungler, and Sejuani gonna get taken off the table first by Yakooza, which I think is totally okay. After you have Ogawa, who had a bit of a rocky game 1, I think it's fair to say, just putting them on something that's pretty standard and pretty comfortable, or should be comfortable for them, is going to be the right play. I think Sejuani is really nice. I'm not sure if that's a Sona. I'd imagine it isn't. Because Pro Draft is pretty finicky when it gets down to 0 seconds. But we will have to see if that pick is different than it actually is. But 16 seconds left on the 2nd pick for Neverlucky White.
Yep, and Sejuani as well, a champion that can go into multiple lanes. Probably going to be going into the jungle, as you were talking about, but Yakooza liked to play very flexible in draft game 1. Can also do that here in game 2. Yeshef played well on the Ornn and facilitated a lot of things that that gave Yakooza those opportunities to be able to win out in some of those matchups. But Pierce also performed exceptional on that Nautilus, had a lot of engages, facilitated a lot of those kills with, on point dredge lines and depth charges. And so really a support battle here that I'm looking forward to as we move into this game. B2, B3 going to be Nidalee and Yone for Yakooza. So a very different style of composition coming in from the blue side, as LeBlanc is hovered for Neverlucky White to, I assume, go into the mid lane here. And that is going to be the pick. So we're getting a much different game than we did in game 1.
Yeah, and I'm curious where everything is getting flexed. I imagine Nidalee will be the jungle. And just for those unaware, the Sona is a Wukong. So it is not going to be Sona Caitlyn bot lane. It is going to be, I imagine, Wukong jungle with Caitlyn bot and LeBlanc mid. The Sejuani we saw flex to support twice last week in that game, in that series rather, and I'm curious to see if it might go there again. There is also a world where we can go top. Sejuani, a very nice pairing with the Yone. You have the melee passive that allows Sejuani to get her stacks off faster. And Neverlucky White gonna ban away potentially Senna and Ziggs here. 2 longer range pokers, and the drop ban pro draft things, by the way. I imagine it is going to be Ziggs. It is Camille, in fact, instead of Ziggs as that last ban. So Yakooza gonna opt for a Garen ban, potentially seeing that as the setup for Neverlucky White to pick it. Garen, remember, was banned in first phase of game number 1. So taking that again away from Revnon, who might be looking to blind here, but honestly, it probably will be the support coming out from Neverlucky White. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the likes of a Karma or a Morgana even, considering, oh no, it is going to be the top lane pick. Urgot will be the lock-in for Neverlucky White here. Another interesting pick coming out from the red side top laner.
And I like this choice because I still believe that Sejuani could go into that support role, and you don't want something that could potentially just get hammered by that. We don't know where bottom lane is going to be, could potentially be that Yone. We'll find out here in just a moment, as the Jhin is going to be the other lock-in here. That is going to be the AD. That kind of solidifies where the Yone and the Nidalee are going. And so we'll have to see what this last pickup is going to be. If I were Yakooza, I'd be looking for something a little bit more frontline, give you a little bit more beef and peel for your Jhin that is very immobile, and the Nautilus is hovered. I like this choice. It would confirm the Sejuani, going into what I would assume be the top lane now here, Sept, or the mid lane here, Sept. No. Sejuani in the jungle, Yone in mid lane, Nidalee top lane. Or what am I looking at here, Septi?
You're probably looking at a Sejuani top, if I had to hazard a guess. Nidalee did get some adjustments in this last patch that gave for a bit more of a on-hit / AD focus, which has prompted some pretty interesting builds. I think I've been seeing some AD put into builds, some more bruiser builds coming out as well. But no, Braum going to be the last locking, going to be played with Caitlyn. I like Braum as an answer to Nautilus. It is pretty standard. You're able to, block the hook with the wall, and then any damage that follows will most likely just get blocked or reduced by the Braum wall. It is also very good into Sejuani ulti, Nidalee Spear, and Jhin ult. But we're going to get into draft here. To be honest, I'm not sure how Yakooza is going to play. I feel like generally we see Nidalee as either you're playing from ahead type of pick, or it's your one trick, which I mean Ogawa played the Sylas, so it's not too far from what they played in game number 1. It just seems a little bit, I won't call it odd, because I don't think that's fair to Ogawa and Yakooza. I think they're 2-1 on merit, and so I think they trust that their jungler can make something happen. And if this Nidalee does in fact go in the jungle, I'm really looking forward to see what they can do with it. But we sort of laid out a game plan that they weren't able to follow super well in game number 1. And so when playing a similar champion like this Nidalee that really wants to be in the face of the enemy jungle, really wants to, play for these trades, play for these, map objectives early on, it's going to be, I keep saying this word interesting, because I can't really think of anything else to say. But Ogawa has something to prove this game. Wasn't really able to get the ball rolling in game number 1. Jim Cantor had a wonderful game, was able to get multiple dragons, all the grubs, the herald as well, and you have you have 3 lanes with incredibly good setup for your champion. You have the Nautilus hook, you have the Sejuani stun, you have the Yone knockup, and so if you're not able to again get the ball rolling, it is going to be rough to find a way out of this game and out of the hole you've put yourself in, being down 0-1 in the series.
And I guess the last thing that I want to comment here when it comes into the draft is this Braum. Pierce Blade coming in with it. I trust their ability to be able to get jobs done here. And I respect Neverlucky White, and I even respect Yakooza as well for trying not to play their hand too early so that they could potentially find something here. But having that Braum still be available really does put a big wrench into Yakooza's plan. Unbreakable is going to be a very impactful ability here in this game. Going to potentially stop the curtains, going to be able to stop the Nidalee Spears, as you were talking about, could even stop a Glacial Prison if you're really successful. So you're getting a lot of value out of that champion. I don't know if I were in their position, I would ban it, but I do want to give some props to Neverlucky White, whoever's doing that draft there, for seeing that, having that available, and making that final R5 play happen in draft.
Yeah, I mean, the only difference, right, between this game and last game is Neverlucky, they are not as strong early. Wukong notoriously not, able to do much before the level 6 mark. Yes, you're able to close the gap and, get a couple autos down, but you really don't have much setup. And so he's going to be relying a lot on Revnon and Puffles to set up any plays, as well as obviously Pierceblade, to really set up any plays that they might go for early. The Wukong sort of thrives at just powering a 6 and then using Cyclone to make stuff happen. So similar to Lilia, Yakooza is in a prime position to try, or has a clear roadmap set out in front of them to play the game in a way that allows them to win, instead of just letting the game come to you. I know that sounded really stupid, but it's playing proactive versus playing to let them make a mistake. And when you have a Nidalee and Yone and Nautilus, you have to be on the front foot in a game like this.
For sure. And we'll see if they are able to do that. Game 1, I think, very, very competitive throughout that one. The early game just kind of getting away from Yakooza a little bit and giving Neverlucky White those advantages. As you were talking about before, maybe not necessarily going to be the case here, as both teams are now in game. We're going to jump into game 2 Dragon Draft. It was a Cloud Soul in game 1, which means that I get the point. Septi, you're up first.
I'm gonna take your winner. Give me Cloud.
Okay, there you go. Love it.
The salty steel.
The salty steel. All right, well, I'm going to take Infernal, and I'm going to take Hextech away from you, Septi.
My favorite dragon. All right, I'll take Mountain, and I will take Ocean. Give me OG dragons, please.
Let's go. I love it. I love it. I guess real quick question, what dragon would you want to see here in this game?
Honestly, I think it'd be spicy if we got an Infernal or a Hextech. Just because these comps are pretty spicy to begin with, and more damage and more CC would just sort of make that a little bit more fun to watch. I feel just the desire to fight for these dragons.
For sure, definitely take your opinion there. I'll agree with you 100%. We're gonna take a quick break to jump into game 2. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back, everybody, to the start of game 2 here at the Aegis Marauders League. We're definitely in the heat of the summer now, and as this game heats up, I gotta ask you, Septi, what's your favorite summer activity?
Honestly, for me, it is. I used to work at a summer camp, so for me, it is going on a little boat and sailing around a lake. That is going to put a label on me, but it's just a lot of fun being out on the water and just chilling, having fun, being blown around by some dinky little winds.
Fair enough. I love it. I went to summer camp too.
I don't get to do it anymore, but once upon a time, that was my favorite thing to do in the summer. Now my favorite thing to do in the summer is cast League of Legends, Moose.
Ah, I see.
Yeah,
I see. A man of the people.
We bring it back.
A man of the people. Nice segue as we jump in.
Yeah.
As we jump into game 2. Jim Kentor and Dreadnought are going to see great content. Oh no! Great content. Great content does have flash and is going to save it. Wow. Nice. Hold there on the hands. Gonna have to teleport back, but that is gonna be an invasive jungle. The Jim Kentor is gonna pick up that blue buff.
Yeah, nerves are still there for great content. Gonna hold on to the flash. Forced to start the Q there on Sejuani, which is not the worst thing in the world. I think if you're playing into Urgot E, it's totally fine. You're just gonna be forced off of the first couple CS, not really gonna be able to do anything with your W to get any minions, but I think that's a bit to be expected. This Urgot was picked later than the Sejuani, but again, it is already a bit of an asterisk because Ogawa is getting the map forcefully split against them towards a lane that is fairly safe, I'd argue, with the barrier and the exhaust available for Caitlyn and Braum, and so you have to try and look at this. Look at what is happening right now on the map. Jim Kentor is cutting the map and going down to their bot side, and this is a disaster now for Ogawa, the Nidalee, who is gonna try and make something happen probably, but might get even spotted on this ward here. Will we see it? I'm not sure if they were spotted on vision.
Yeah, I do believe they're spotted on vision. We did get a dredge line landing in on the bottom side. Pierce Blade is going to be 1 HP, going to be forced to flash away. Half HP, pardon me. Going to be forced to flash away, as now the rest of Yakooza might be trying to go for an invade of their own into Neverlucky White's jungle. Flash use on Pierce Blade could potentially be impactful, but not going to feel confident enough to go for the Gromp. going to look to see where Jim Cantor is at. They know that the blue buff is gone, and Ogawa is going to go for the Wolves. Going to be very much out of position if they are able to find them, as we are looking to potentially see a play at the Gromp. 1,000 HP remaining on it. Jim Cantor relatively healthy. I don't know if Ogawa is going to be able to get the steal, but we'll find out in just a moment.
Yeah, watch those CS numbers there. It is going to go to the way of the Wukong. 4 camps apiece, but Ogawa is behind. Does get the auto into Wukong. Spear going wide though, so no mark from the Nidalee here.
Okay, gonna be able to get the heal, the extra attack speed, no flash available for Pierce Blade, as Pierce Blade is gonna try to go into the stand behind me. Ogawa's now 1 HP, and first blood is gonna go to Jim Cantor and the Wukong. Yes, Chef will respond with a flash and ignite to be able to take a kill over to Yakooza, but I don't think they're gonna be able to get out of this one, and that's gonna be 300 gold potentially going into the hands of Puffles, the LeBlanc. There it is.
Yeah, that is for sure going to be where that gold goes, and I have to credit Jim Cantor. Played really well there, mind gamed the crap out of Ogawa, was able to hit the S key and tried to do the clone trick, but 4-shot, no, exhaust gonna come in. Savior is just gonna get walked down by the Savior in Pierce Blade. Really nicely well played by the Neverlucky balling, and Savior feeling Neverlucky here as Revnon gonna get walked down now by the trio top side of this Yakooza side. Kill gonna go the way of Ogawa. And this game is going a little bit faster, Moose, than the last game.
Definitely speeding up, which means that, you know, items are going to be picked up a little bit faster for whoever is the victor. You've got Berserker Greaves and the Sorcerer's Shoes completed for your mid laners, and a Dark Seal picked up for Ogawa on the Nidalee. Really gonna try to push the attack here and get some of those early advantages. I'm not mad when a Dark Seal gets placed on a jungler, but it is a huge risk for the team and the jungler that has it.
I love the ego. Starts 0-1, buys Dark Seal anyway. It's it shows that Ogawa still though is in the right headspace, is still, you know, playing to win, still has confidence that they can dominate this game. I think it was a little bit unfortunate the moment they bought it, because I think right before or after they did, they got an assist onto the kill for Jim Cantor. But topside fight going, Ogawa caught out, no flash.
Going to get a nice stun from Great Content to try to be able to get out, not able to do so. Level 6 is not available for Revnon, but Flash is available for Great Content. He's gonna have to use it to try to get out, not gonna be able to do so. Jim Cantor will once again bait out Ogawa in the jungle and pick up a double kill.
Yeah, and Ogawa just being far too aggressive on the map here, had their entire bot side available to them. And this Sejuani is not the lane you want to be playing through. Yes, the wave was going away from Great Content, but at some point, unless you know for sure where the Wukong is, unless you know for sure that you have John moving up the river to support you, there is nothing you can do. And now Ogawa, again, with no pressure in mid, no pressure in top, is going to try and play for a top contest. These grubs too now going the way of Wukong, should be able to just get out. Jim Cantor is more than happy to take 2. Hook going on.
Oh, threading the needle there for Yes Chef, going to try to get a dupe who doesn't have flash available, does not have barrier, but it's the ignite from Yes Chef who will get the kill. That is 2 kills for your Nautilus, as Ogawa is looking to potentially go for this dive onto Revnon. Fear Beyond Death is still going to be available for them, and Great Content is not going to be able to get out. Jim Cantor on a killing spree, and I think that that's going to mean that Jim Cantor can go for a very expensive build once they back.
Yeah, I'd argue that that's a good death from Rev. It goes, you know, yes, you die, but your jungler picks up another kill. You only lose 3 CS, and you are more than strong enough to be able to bounce this wave, even if it's going away from you. So it's no big deal for the Urgot top. Unfortunate that, you know, Great Content was not able to survive, but well played from Jim Cantor to be able to hover that play. And good heads up just overall from this Neverlucky, you know, top jungle duo, who have been going really crazy all night long. I mean, we talked about Jim Cantor, but the Mordekaiser in game 1 was having a ball of a time versus Great Content's Gnar. We saw the solo kill almost in game number 1, but this topside matchup has been pretty one-sided, I'd argue. And the fact that your bot lane sure has 2 kills, but they're 2 kills that are onto a Nautilus is not at all what you want if you are Yakooza. And only 8 minutes in is Neverlucky 2,000 gold ahead.
Does look like there was a little bit of pause on the stream. Might have just been a little bit of buffering there. Talking about Rev not having another great series, going to be up more than 30 CS. That is a 5-wave advantage.
And that's
for
with
the
jungle support.
Urgot. Yeah, that's really rough there for great content, but really good for this Urgot, who's going to continue to look to be effective, as we are going to get a play coming in from Jim Cantor into the mid lane. Cantor does have that second play on the Cyclone. Going to get hit by that spear, and a missed time potentially on the timer might be their death, as John is going to be 1 HP, going to be able to avoid the fear beyond death, as Ogawa is looking to go further in. Puffles going to be able to avoid that spear, going to flash forward. They want that kill onto Puffles, who does have the ultimate available. Going to miss another spear, going to try to go in and gets the kill onto Puffles. That is now 5 stacks on the Dark Seal, as the stun is going to land from great content to follow up. Not going to be able to get any further stunnage onto the Urgot, who's now going to try to be able to avoid it. Oh, it's Ogawa coming in hot. Will pick up their 4th kill of the game and their 7th stack on the Dark Seal.
Yeah, that's the confidence that you've been seeing them play with all game long. Yes, you know, you miss a couple shots, but Ogawa keeps going and is now going to be able to back with more than enough gold to finish their first item, hopefully, and is back in the race with Jim Cantor. Yes, going to finish that Lich Bane first. And when you're playing this Conquer in Italy build where auto attack weaving is so important, this Lich Bane really helps you out in these extended trades. And looking at the gold, yes, Ogawa has slingshot themselves ahead of their counterpart, who, you know, not to scoff at, has 4 kills themselves. But no, I mean, the gold is dead even. 200 gold is the difference maker for Neverlucky. And to be honest, that just purely exists in the fact that the bot lane in Adoof, I think, is farming a little bit. It's farming the same, but has that kill over the Nautilus, or over the Jhin rather. But this game, I think, is fully blown over. And I think Yakooza are, you know, getting their mojo back in this series. You've had a couple, you know, moments, but Ogawa now back on the map is looking for Puffles, who has no W now. Should have ulti though.
Gonna have that ultimate available themselves. Could use it. Uses the ethereal chain, so can't get out, as Pierce Blade is gonna be there to be able to provide some protection on to Puffles. Stand behind me, Unbreakable are used. We're 10 minutes into the game and no dragon has been taken yet. The Void Grubs are available now though, and Neverlucky White has 2, so they could still get a 5-stack Hunger of the Void buff if they are able to pick them up, as Neverlucky White will seed the dragon in the bottom side of the rift. The response will be Jim Cantor going for those Void Grubs, and it doesn't look like Yakooza are trying to go for it. Do not value that objective right now. They're looking to potentially maybe find some kills here. Don't get anything out of it, and the rest of the Yakooza squad are going to reset to their lanes.
Yeah, Yakooza were on the verge of having some really clean macro there. They had the push in mid, they had the health advantage from John, which was sort of prohibiting Jim Cantor from playing those grubs out. But once the trio of Ogawa, Savior, and Yes Chef showed on that bot side jungle, it just made the grubs extremely free for Jim Cantor to take. But I mean, looking around, it's only going to be the item completed for the junglers and the 80 carry of Adoof, who built a very cheap item. But John now going to get ganked.
We're gonna almost get a good play there. Good positioning coming out of Jim Cantor, going to be able to avoid John being able to get out of that one though. Meanwhile, in the top side, Revnon going to get stunned to oblivion, and Ogawa's gonna be on a rampage, has the Lich Bane available, and now has 9 stacks on the Dark Seal. But what is the response from Neverlucky White with getting the mid laner down? There is no teleport available for Yakooza. They're gonna get multiple turret plates and might even look to go for more. The flash ward gonna come in from Yashep, as well as the depth charge. They want to get that kill onto Adoof. The bear is going to get used. Exhaust as well. Root, stun, damage, 1 HP remaining, and Adoof will pick it up. Ace in the hole is now going to put Yeshef into a tough situation, and Ogawa's going to go down in the mid lane. Pierce Blade will pick up Yeshef. That is a pseudo shutdown, and Neverlucky White are going to respond in excellent fashion.
Yeah, really well played. The Shiv from Adoof picking up the last hit onto Savior is so tragic for the Yakooza AD, but so well appreciated from a Doof to be able to get that second kill of the game for themselves, and a kill going the way of Pierceblade. You know, you won't scoff at it. Braum with gold is never a bad thing for the Braum, but I think credit again has to go to the fact that Adoof and Pierceblade played so well around the stun timer. As hold on, Jhin ulti coming down, the curtain call. Will they call the curtain down on Caitlyn's career, trying to dodge back and forth? And it was so boring and so uneventful. Caitlyn dodged it by a country mile, so Spectator didn't even bother showing us. That's unfortunate.
Turret plates are still up for 30 seconds. That could be a fully destroyed middle tower before the 14-minute mark. Yakooza is still in this game, only behind by 2 kills, but it is the macro plays, the neutral objectives that Neverlucky White have been able to pick up here. The gold going into the pockets of the right players that have given Neverlucky White that 4,000 gold advantage moving into the mid game. Rift Herald is now available for a pickup here, and
great content.
Now we got an opportunity for Neverlucky White to expand that lead. If they are able to get this kill onto great content, that could potentially be Rift Herald going down, as Jim Cantor is going to be a little bit of damage there. Go, boy! The Fear Beyond Death lands, the flash doesn't matter, and Revnon will pick up their first kill of the game, now 1 and 4. I don't think you're saving the tower. You cannot do it. But I think Rift Herald is potentially on the menu here, Septi.
So begins the downfall of great content in the top side. Revnon finally gonna get some support in the top side that allows them to pick up kills, because every time Jim Cantor came up to the top side, the kills were going the way of the Wukong. So the gold lead, yes, you were getting some assists every now and then. Yes, you were getting a little bit of assist XP, but it was not nearly enough to impact the matchup. Now gonna have that kill finally, up 40 CS, up a half a component, I'll say, as Sejuani is looking to complete that Warmogs there as their first item, which I'm not exactly sure if that's the best item to go for first. Actually, off the top of my head, I cannot remember if Heartsteel builds out of Winged Moonplate or not. I probably should know this, but doesn't matter. Sejuani is building a health item with a tier, so Urgot is going to have a whole bunch of fun on the top side. With the cleaver completed, should be having a fine time. Tower down, and now the map is wide open for Neverlucky to start really taking control. Similar to what we saw in game number 1, which is once that mid tower went down, once they finally broke open the map, Neverlucky sort of didn't look back. They started making play. They started getting picks. Ulti coming down from great content.
Okay, curtain call is going to be there. The Cyclone's going to go in onto Ogawa, who's going to go for the heal. Does have a lot of AP, so that heal is going to be impactful, but it's not going to be enough to keep Ogawa alive. Jim Cantor is going to get rooted by Savior, who already used a curtain call. Blast Cone is not going to be able to get them back, but the clone is going to be enough to get them through, and Puffles will be able to take out great content to make this a 3v5 situation. A great big seal coming through from John, as the follow-up's going to be there. Oh no, Savior gonna land onto that Yordle Snapchat, and it's gonna get eaten up by Revnon to make it a 3-for-3 play. And it's Neverlucky White that could potentially go for the dragon. I think they're gonna be able to get it.
Revnon, the hero, coming to save the day. John thought that they were the main character for just a second, but no, was not the case. Revnon came down, saw Savior standing on a Yordle Snaptrap, and said, "Thank you very much. You will be my dinner for this fight." And second dragon going the way of Neverlucky White, and it will be the Ocean Dragon. So the original dragons rule the day for the time being.
They sure do.
But they sure do. They sure do. 5,000 gold lead for Neverlucky White, and that currently exists in the form of completed items on the Braum, as well as very close to completion and expensive components for Puffles and for Adoof, who, you know, have been having pretty quiet games, I'd say. I think the LeBlanc and the Caitlyn, for how their scorelines are, have been fairly quiet. I think a lot of the focus has been on Jim Cantor and Ogawa, you know, going absolutely crazy, trying to fight every single opportunity they get. And now John gonna get caught up by Pierceblade, forced to use the Soul Unbound here. Does have the booming blow still on them, but Jim Cantor in the back.
And try to get out. Cantor does have the clone available if they wanted to continue this fight. but Flash was used by John. I think they're happy with that, but the root is going to land in onto Jim Cantor, followed by the Dredge line, and that's going to be the initiation there, 1-for-1, as they are going to be able to take out Ogawa. Junglers are now dead. Teleport's going to come through from Revlon, as now Azuva is going to get hit by the depth charge. Fate Sealed is going to land as well. Everyone's going everywhere, and the curtains are finally going to call. Pubble's going to be able to flash away, and the Fear Beyond Death is going to be huge for Revlon, getting a double kill on the Urgot. And once again, Neverlucky White are going to win this fight. So many low health bars, and now are looking to get some more. Savior going to try to be able to get away. The Dredge line is going to land. Pierce Blade is going to come through. Pummel is going to come through. Can they get the kill? No. The health bars are even lower, Septi, but they can't finish the job.
And that was such a great team fight win there for Neverlucky. It started off so bad. Jim Cantor tried to use the Cyclone to make a catch onto Ogawa, who was able to just do a nice job of escaping and creating some distance between their jungle counterpart. But the hook from Yes Chef turned it right around. And okay, sorry, the spear. Anyway, doesn't matter. Really nicely well done from Neverlucky. I think that Puffles was able to turn that around once they got that trade kill onto Ogawa, and then Revnon with the Fear Beyond Death had so much CC. I think John could have potentially turned the fight in favor of Yakooza, but I think buffered the snapback for the Fate Unsealed after their ulti and was unable to capitalize on the fact that he scooped 3 members of this Neverlucky side into a great ulti and was setting up some great extra damage on top of the damage that they were already doing. And now the gold lead has jumped to about 7,000 gold. 2 dragons taking this game, so another slow one in terms of that neutral objective. But Baron on the table in a minute's time, and I think honestly Neverlucky, they are in a really good spot. Puffle's close to finishing that death cap. Infinity Edge completed for the Caitlyn, as well as that Divine Sunder on Jim Cantor. So these Neverlucky players have absolutely spiked in the game. Just take a look at Yakooza's side. The only person with 2 items is Ogawa, and that second item is a Leandri's Torment, which is pretty normal onto the Caitlyn. You get, or onto the Nidalee rather, because of the changes to your E. It allows you to get a little bit more value from building that AP, as well as it's just very good in extended fights once you get it proc because of the Lichbane magic damage. It's just a whole bunch of stuff. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do though with that Fairy Charm.
And now we move into the Baron phase. Oh my god, Puffles are going to get hit by so much CC there, but is going to try to be able to get out. Does have that distortion available and escapes. That's going to mean that Glacial Prison not going to get the value that I think that they were looking for. Flash wasn't even available for Puffles, so good hands on the LeBlanc to be able to escape that.
That's one of those, so you're playing against LeBlanc moments. Because she is the most notorious when it comes to being able to slip out like that. What other champion in the game can get CC'd for 2 seconds, get hit by Nidalee Spear, and sorry, that isn't a tank, I'll say, and survive that freely? The answer is none, or not many at least. Maybe the new champion, I don't know what she does. Probably could survive a Nidalee Spear, just because Riot Games, but doesn't matter. Dragon going to be on the table in 30 seconds time. It looks as though Neverlucky are going to try and get their bases out. TP is available for both Puffles rather, but not for great content should the Sejuani get stuck in this top side. But the Yakooza top laner just did their job, pushed the wave out, and tried to occupy the time of LeBlanc for a little bit longer. But no, going to go back to try and take this wave. Teleport is going to be available pretty close to the Dragon timer. I don't think it'll be available right away. But great content is relying on the fact that hopefully their team, if they decide to contest this Dragon, will stall for TP timer, and it doesn't look to be the case. Ogawa.
Okay, going to be able to avoid the Glacial Fissure as Pupple's going to get a lot of damage in onto Savior. Raptors will get taken. The jungle will get cleared out by Neverlucky White, and now they can go over to the Ocean Drake. No vision available for Yakooza, and now Puff is going to find the rest of Yakooza inside the topside jungle, going to mean that Neverlucky White will be able to take this dragon relatively easily. No contest there from the opponents. And as we look at the items, we can also take a look at the gold. Rabadon's death cap going to be completed by Puffles, and this LeBlanc going to be dealing a massive amount of damage. Does not have a Magi Soul Sealer, but does have 7 stacks on that Dark Seal. We're looking for that second item completion there for John. And we do get second item for Savior on the Jhin. That Infinity Edge is going to mean a lot of damage as we move into potential very impactful Baron fight.
Yeah, having 2 items on Jin is going to be nice. Not a whole lot of armor existing on this Neverlucky side, so I don't hate the collector. A lot of the times I would prefer probably just going straight IE into LDR, or maybe even a Shiv into IE into LDR. Just because collector did get nerfed in the last couple of patches, and so not as effective when it comes to doing the executes or getting the lethality needed. But Puffles, oh my, that was R and then QE, and it almost one-shot Ogawa. But no, critically, Ogawa gonna be able to use the new changes to the E to heal for a lot more than was available to them on the last patch. And Neverlucky, I'm curious how they decide to break this game open, because I don't know if Revnon wins against John. I know it looks to be very favorable right now for the Urgot, but trying to push a tower is a different story. John, as we see,
gonna go for it, and now John is 1 HP, going to survive the Fear Beyond Death, and Flash is used on Revnon's side. Fate Sealed use on John, so a bit of a successful trade for Yakooza. But now it is Neverlucky White looking to initiate on to Baron Nashor, going to be taking a little bit of damage, go onto it, but going to back off and deleash it. The rest of Yakooza is now here. This could potentially be a 5v5. A win could mean Baron for either side if they're able to clean it up smoothly, but both sides, I think, content with just letting this be. They will back off, and we'll go back to our lane assignments that we had 90 seconds ago.
yeah, no ulti available for Revnon, no ulti available for John, as Ogawa is gonna get caught again by this Urgot here, doing so much damage. As Ogawa is just gonna go down, and that is the pick that Neverlucky were looking for. Pings immediately onto the Baron.
And it's just going to be too easy now for them to be able to pick it up. I don't even think Yakooza can contest it. The vision is nowhere to be seen in the river. Neverlucky White has been very consistent with their vision game this entire series, and Puffles will get a pick on to John to make it a 4 or a 5v3 if they try to go for a Baron fight. Decent amount of damage onto Jim Cantor, and Pierce Blade as the doof will then be the DPS to take out the big purple worm. And with no smite steal, Neverlucky White will be able to pick that one up on all 5 members of their squad. It will increase the gold lead to 11,000. And unfortunately, Septi, it's looking like Neverlucky White are looking to continue their streak of winning here today, and are in prime position to close this one out.
You know, we didn't get the full curse last game onto Neverlucky, where, you know, saying that all Yakooza needed was a perfect fight. You know, surely we get the perfect fight this time, right? Because they had it. It was just too far behind to get the job done. But again, Yakooza, they have the engage. They have more engage than Neverlucky. They have the option to pick their fight. You know, with the likes of Glacial Prison, with the likes of the Depth Charge from Yes Chef. And I think the world is still in their control if they decide to grab hold of it, because LeBlanc is just gonna keep side laning, and so you have an opportunity to go onto those members in mid, and they're trying really hard to find an angle to get vision around the side of this Neverlucky side. But the damage, the wallet difference is really making it difficult. And now Jim Cantor on the flank here is probably just looking for a preventative angle, if anything else, trying to hold that side so that great content and Yes Chef can't sneak around. And if a fight were to break out, they themselves would have a great flank on the Wukong.
Baron up, minion's gonna go through the mid lane, teleport's gonna come through from Puffles. It's gonna be a 5-man siege into that middle inhibitor, and now they're looking to potentially get it done. They will be able to get it done as the Glacial Fish is gonna land in on a great content. Is gonna be put back in to the fray. Revnon gonna be able to get the fear on it. Yes, Chef is gonna get stunned to oblivion. And now the rest of Yakooza are going to try to defend the Nexus, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do so. There's the Baron buff. There's the Hunger to the Void buff. There's the damage. There's the Cyclone. And there's a nice Fate Sealed once again out of 3 members, but it is not going to matter. GGWP going to go to Neverlucky White. They will win this series. They will secure 2nd place in the Ionia division. And they did it in style, Septi.
Is it locked up? Are they? I guess 3 wins would have been enough, right? Because,
I mean,
I think 3 wins is enough, unless they. Hold on, let's check. Let's check.
Well, at
Ionia.
least in this point, they will be 3-1 moving
True.
into
They'll be 3-1
week
with-
5.
They'll be 3-1 with only 2 games lost.
Yeah,
compared
and then
to Team Yippee, who also can't match them because Yakooza cannot get to, or sorry, Neverlucky cannot get to 3 losses at this point.
Yeah.
So not going to be able to dethrone the second place spot. AML Yeet List, if they go on to win tonight, are still vulnerable to Neverlucky White should Yakooza have a good week against them in week number 5. But I mean, look at this gold graph. It's sort of that's how the pace of the game went. You know, the first 6 minutes were rough, and then Italy got a couple kills, and it looked, you know, not as bad, and then it got bad again because it looked as though Yakooza overforced a bit. They had that nice sequence on the top side where they were able to get a couple kills for the Nidalee, but there just wasn't much to it. I think the composition has to play on overdrive. You have to play with Nidalee constantly ganking, constantly trying to play for invades, and you just never had the priority to really do it. Jin Nautilus is not going to outpush Braum Caitlyn in most games. LeBlanc and Yone are going to trade neutral if anything else. And then Urgot absolutely wins against the Sejuani, so it is just really hard to play in a matchup like this. I think traditionally, a lot of the reason we see Renekton in Italy is not necessarily because, you know, a lot of the times people say, oh, because you can Renekton stun for the Nidalee spear. I mean, yes, that's nice, but you do it because the Renekton can consistently, you know, again, unless they're playing against a very few number of matchups, can consistently get that push for the Nidalee to do something with it, for the Nidalee to have options. How many times this game did we see Ogawa try and force a play when they either didn't have the pressure or were, you know, or just didn't have any other options?
A few, maybe a little bit more than a few, but definitely a strong showing from Neverlucky White. I see why they're one of the top teams in the Ionia division. Jim Cantor, we talked about their performance in game 1. I think overall had a very steady game, but the team as a whole, you know, Puffles, I don't think died in game 1 until like 22, 23 minutes, was just trying to get to that level 16. You had a significant damage, not as much damage as the Ezreal in that game, but this game there on the LeBlanc, most damage in the series. We saw the power of that pick in John going down as the Yone. But overall, just the way that Neverlucky was able to dictate the pace of the game, dictate when and where fights were going to be, was so impactful for their squad to end up, you know, winning this series. And unfortunately, Yakooza just did not have that same level of precision. And I don't think mechanically either one of these teams were necessarily better than the other, but it was the drafting play and it was, I think, the macro play from Neverlucky White that ended up giving them the series win. So nicely done for them. Like I was talking about earlier, they're going to be 3-1 moving into the last week of the regular season. We're going to take a quick break to set up for a post-game interview.
We are not going to set up for a post-game interview, unfortunately, tonight. We are going to have to end this here. But before we do, Moose, thank you for casting with me tonight. Caddy, thank you for doing a lovely bit of production for us. And for rolling with the punches when it comes to the draft level stuff, it is a pain. We love it. We appreciate you. For all you in the chat, thank you every week for showing out for the AML. We will be back next Tuesday as well with week number 5, the final week of our regular split before we get into qualifiers. Moose, what you got to say before we head out of here?
Nothing much. Be sure to check out the Aegis Defenders League on Monday. Aegis Marauders League, of course, every Tuesday, but with Septi and myself. And then later on in the week, you've got the Executioners League, the Aegis.
Pulling the actual names. Sorry. Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Aegis Executioners. You've also got the Aegis Champions League on Friday, and then I believe Protectors is still going. Redacted says they're doing something on Wednesdays.
Redacted
We'll
Live,
see.
I think, this week.
We'll see. He says that he's going to be coming back this week, but definitely stay updated in the Discord. If you guys are not in the Discord, there is a link on the Twitch stream so you guys can get in on the action. You can also follow the Twitch channel, join the Twitter feeds, as well as subscribe if you are really enjoying the content here. Last thing, shout out to Trolley, Hot Pockets, and of course ProComps for being the sponsors of the AML. And with that being said, we will jump into next week's series at 5 p.m. PST, week 5 of the regular season. The final week of the regular season in the AML will commence, and we would love to have you guys there. So have a good night, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.